The cruise ship captain locked the bridge door behind me and placed an old passenger list on the table. "I think you need to see this," he said. I looked down and saw my mother's name. The problem was, my mother had been dead for 12 years. I had watched her funeral. I had cried beside her grave. Yet the list said she boarded the ship 3 days after her funeral. The captain showed me the cabin number and a handwritten note. "Traveling alone. Do not contact family." Then he showed me a faded photograph of a woman wearing the scarf my mother always wore. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Family Betrayal if you enjoy emotional family stories where hidden truths finally come out. The faces and scenes shown here are only visual recreations for storytelling. I called my older brother Daniel from the bridge. He had arranged everything after our mother supposedly died. When I told him her name was on the list, he went silent. Then he asked, "Where did you find that?" That single question changed everything. He already knew about the list. The captain gave me one more thing, a small envelope with my name written on it. Inside was a note in my mother's handwriting. "If my son ever finds this, tell him I never stopped loving him." They didn't explain anything. They left me with one question: if my mother was alive, why had my brother convinced me she was dead? I flew home the next morning. Daniel refused to meet me, so I went through the old storage room where our mother's belongings had been kept. Behind a broken cabinet, I found a metal box. Inside were bank statements, photographs, and a document with Daniel's signature. It showed he had booked my mother's cabin on that cruise. But that wasn't the worst part. Underneath it was a letter dated 12 years earlier, and the first sentence made my hands shake. "Daniel believes I am going to expose him." My mother had discovered that Daniel was secretly taking money from the family business. She planned to report him. He begged her to stay quiet, then threatened to destroy the family if she refused. He convinced her that if the truth came out, I would be dragged into his mess too. So she disappeared. But she hadn't planned to stay gone forever. The letter said she would return when Daniel was exposed. Then everything went wrong. She became afraid, and Daniel kept sending messages warning her to stay away. I felt anger rising inside me. For 12 years I had mourned a woman who was still alive. Then I found another document. It was a life insurance policy with my name as the beneficiary. The policy had never been claimed. Attached to it was one sentence: "Do not give this to my son until he knows the truth." I took the documents to an attorney. He helped me trace the records and locate the man shown in the old photograph. His name was Robert, my mother's former business partner. Robert told me my mother had contacted him before boarding the ship. She was afraid Daniel would hurt her reputation and possibly frame me for his financial crimes. She believed disappearing was the only way to protect me. I finally stepped onto the porch of the address Robert gave me and knocked. An older woman opened the door. She looked at me for 1 second and covered her mouth. "Michael," she whispered. Nobody had called me that way in 12 years. It was her, my mother. I wanted to hug her, but I was too angry to move. She started crying and said she had tried to come home more than once. Daniel always found out. He told her I was safe and happy and that returning would destroy me. I asked her, "Then why did you let me believe you were dead?" She handed me another envelope. Inside was proof that Daniel had continued stealing from the family business for years. He had also been watching my finances and making sure I never searched too deeply into our mother's disappearance. I confronted him with everything. Then I placed the old passenger list on the table. His face changed. He finally admitted he had helped our mother disappear, but he claimed he did it to protect the family. I asked him one question: if you were protecting us, why were you stealing from her? He stared at the floor. That was the answer. Daniel was drowning in debt. He was terrified our mother would expose him, so he manipulated her fear and controlled the story after she left. He told me she was dead because he knew grief would keep me from asking questions. For years, I thought the worst thing that happened to me was losing my mother. I was wrong. My mother and I didn't magically become close again. We had too much pain between us, but slowly we began talking. Even now, I sometimes think about that passenger list. Out of hundreds of names, one was never supposed to be there. My mother's. The ocean hadn't erased the truth. It had simply carried it forward until I was ready to find it. If you were in my place, would you forgive my mother, confront Daniel, or walk away from both of them? Tell me in the comments. Share this story with someone who believes family secrets always stay buried, and subscribe to Family Betrayal for more emotional stories where the truth finally comes home.